got a call at 5:35 from Craig Stanton saying he was going out on a 90-minute time trial on his mountain bike, and I was thinking, that's going to end at about 7:05. So, Craig, did you catch your breath yet?
Yeah, I was able to drop the bike. I've got half of it in the carrying case. I was able to get half a burrito down, and I'm ready to talk to you guys.
Half a burrito. Wow.
I couldn't get the whole burrito down, but I got half down before you called.
Wow. How much mileage you gain in 90 minutes?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's. I mean, I do hill repeats, and I mean, it's a kind of an urban type time trial, and plus the wind's blowing about 31 miles an hour right now, so it's a crazy little workout that I do.
I was reading a column in the Sunday Daytona Beach News Journal. I think might have been Mark Lane, but it was about how Florida is the most dangerous state for bicyclists.
It is. So if there's what is it? I can't remember the exact number, but 3 out of 10 cyclists that die in America die in Florida.
Wow.
And it's like the same. It's like pedestrians are the same thing. It's really kind of scary down there. You got to really be careful. And a lot of people aren't used to being around cyclists. So some of the people that are up in some of the snowbirds that come down or whatnot for the winter, they're not used to having cyclists around, so they're not keeping their eye out, and it's tragic. Yeah.
You've got to go up and down hills, mountains, and that in California, I imagine. But here, it's billiard table flat. If you want to get a hill workout, you got to go up and down the bridges over the causeways.
Yeah, but you know what is the wind? The wind gets blowing real hard down there, as you all know, JJ. Whether you're in a kayak or you're running or you're on a bike, and it's great resistance. So, your heart rate can go up when you're going in the wind.
Yep. Okay. Well, Craig, you and John Potter have been carrying the ball for Porsche all season, especially you're going to be the only Porsche entry in Monday's Memorial Day Classic at Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't mind carrying the banner for Porsche. They're a great mark, and I've been a Porsche driver since '95. Almost exclusively, and I don't mind it, but I'd sure like to see more Porsches out there. And it's interesting because there's so many teams out there, so many individuals that love to come and run in Grand Am, but they're just kind of waiting around to see if they can have a competitive car. I think Magnus Racing right now has one of the most competitive Porsches on the planet, meaning that it's developed, it's ready to go. It is a trick piece, and I'm not kidding. But what really is, and Grand Am has really been great, giving us a little extra this or that, kind of lightening the car, kind of lowering the car, kind of giving us some more power. Not a lot of power, but just a little bit. But what really happens is, and I'm not going to bag on Pirelli tires because I think they're a great manufacturer of tires, but the tires they chose to bring to the table doesn't really suit the back end of the Porsche. And so what occurs is that, it doesn't really matter what kind of, advantages we get, improvements, advantages we get, we still have problems, in the back of the Porsche because of the weight.
Yeah, I know
the transmission and the motor in the back for sure.
Yeah, it was an uncompetitive day at VIR. Which make of car won that race?
Well, I think it was strategy that TRG won in the Porsche, and that we ended up fourth. I think what we did is I know that I worked the second I got in the car, I worked really hard to manage my rear tires, so I had something more than anybody else. And I'm telling you, JJ, I think that we had one of the quickest cars right at the end of the race, and we're able to go up. I think right there in the last 6-7 laps, we're able to make 3 or 4 spots. So the car is real good on the long runs. We just have to really, really save those tires.
Hey, Craig, this is DC. Have you had the opportunity to test the Continental tires yet?
I have actually.
Well,
and
give us the poop on that.
They're a great company. They're kind of following suit with the Hoosiers, obviously, and they have a lot of data that they can draw back from. I was just at a Hoosier test in Mid-Ohio, and they've got a couple pretty attractive, performance tires that that they're looking at giving us next year. So I'm pretty optimistic actually on what we're going to get. I think I had 11 different combinations. We ran almost. I ran almost personally. I ran almost 2.5 races there at Mid Ohio. I was in the car. They let me get out for lunch. I had to go out to the little girls' room about 2. But other than that, I was in the car running laps. And we did 6 laps, and then I'd come into the pits and I'd do consistent laps all day long. And was able to work with some really smart engineers, and obviously Lars and John Bedell, at Magnus. And we had in-car cameras. We had cameras on the outside. We had cameras looking at the inside of the tire in the fender well. We were able to come up with some really good data. We had infrared sensors. We had all kinds of different stuff that Hoosier was like, Continental was like going, whoa. I mean, we had no idea you guys can offer this. And so we were able to come back with some really good feedback and give them some really good data. And like I said, there was 4 or 5 combinations of tires that I was really pleased with. So there was one tire that they had problems with at Homestead, and that was ironically the best tire that I felt almost all day long. So they understand what we need as drivers, as crew, as engineers. They know what we need. Now it's their job to come up and give that feeling and give that performance, that long run performance that Hoosier had, and that feeling that we really like. So they know what the profile needs to be. They know what the construction needs to be, and now they know what the compound needs to be. And so they're going to come out with a pretty neat tire, I bet.
Okay, did you see the memo today from Grand Am? It's going to be a test at Homestead Miami Speedway on Monday and Tuesday, October 25th, 26th, which is billed as the only Continental Tire test prior to the January test days at Daytona.
Yeah. I would hope that they would have maybe one other test possible. Magnus may do another test with them, other than that. But I think that's okay because they're headed off in a really good direction. They had a failure there and they shut the whole thing down before, but I think that it was just they wanted to make sure that safety was utmost importance. But they got some really good data the last time they were there at Homestead. So that's really hard on the tire. I mean, that coming through NASCAR 4, that puts a big old spike right in that tire in terms of heat and whatnot. So that, and also, it's really interesting. I think I've talked to you about this, JJ, is do you guys know what the highest temperature reading is on Daytona, all around the track? You would think it would be like turn 4 at NASCAR, right? Coming out from the front straight. But it's really outside of turn 6 coming up on the actually NASCAR 1 there.
Really?
Because that's the highest temperature spike that we have at Daytona. It's really interesting.
Wow, that's hard to believe.
It is, because you're accelerating so hard, the back end's just about ready to step out, and then you go boom up on the banking. And it puts a big old side load on that tire and really spikes the temperature up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So Magnus Racing running its first season in the Rolex Series as an independent team, running in 2 different divisions, running a Porsche Cayman and the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, in addition to the car you drive with John Potter in the Rolex Series GT. John Potter also driving that Cayman with, I believe it's Lee Keen.
He is.
Talk about the progress of the team itself and the development as a driver of John Potter. Yeah.
Well, first with John Potter as a development, with his development as a driver, he's really come a long way. He's a smart guy. He loves data. He loves to crunch numbers. He loves the way that he and I interact. And so I know what he wants to hear. I know what I know how to help him along. And he's done real well. And his deal is that he wanted to see quite a few years ago how good he can get. And so the idea, and I even told him, I said, okay, it depends on how many laps you actually do, and how much driving you do, and how much you study it, and how much you can become a student of it and whatnot. And he's doing it. I mean, he's got his shop up in Salt Lake City, and he's got his club program, and that's where the Cayman was actually built. And now the Cayman and also the Rolex cars are maintained out of John Bedell's shop, T&S Motorworks, out of Long Island.